which US has been keen on asking for freedom intake, but looks like the government of India has taken a tough stance on this. In fact, my sources have told me that this is going to be one hell of a breaking deal. Also have shared that in case this wouldn't have taken place, India was ready to take in the 26% tariff, but was not letting to go away of the fact that it's going to budge on sectors important for the country.
Okay, so agriculture, dairy products are off the table as of now. So it's likely to be a more limited deal. We'll see whether other goods like electronics, which also have been contentious at one level, are included in this limited trade deal. Karishma Asudani for joining me there. Appreciate your joining us. Let's turn to the other breaking news that we are getting at the top of the show tonight, because there's an escalating war now between the government of India versus X. Remember the social media site, formerly Twitter, controlled by Elon Musk. The IT ministry has now been forced to counter an X claim that there was censorship and that several accounts had been blocked. The government claims that X had claimed that the government had ordered the blocking of Reuters, the global agency handle, and claimed that there were concerns over press freedom in India, that there was press censorship in India. The Modi government has been forced to respond, and they are claiming the government has not issued any fresh blocking order on 3rd of July and has no intention to block any prominent international news channels, including Reuters and Reuters World. The moment Reuters and Reuters World were blocked on X platform in India, immediately the government wrote to X to unblock them. X has unnecessarily exploited technicalities involved around the process, didn't unblock the URLs. After a lot of follow-up on hourly basis, they took more than 21 hours to unblock Reuters. Aishwarya Paliwal now joins me. Aishwarya, we've got two different versions. We've got X, the social media site, claiming that the Indian government asked them to block more than 2,000 sites, including Reuters. Now the government of India hitting back, but this doesn't do any good to India's image when a global site, which is led by Elon Musk, no less, accuses the Modi government of press censorship.
But you know, Rajdeep, we are seeing claims and counterclaims coming in, and this is not the first time that we are seeing X making these kind of statements. In fact, the moment the Indian government got to know that Reuters in fact was not available in India, it was being withheld. We understand late at night the Indian government had got in touch with X and they had asked them to undo what had happened. X now claiming, and this is not the first time. In fact, you know, Rajdeep, as you and I are speaking, we are seeing a battle ongoing between X and the government of India in the Karnataka High Court. We are seeing orders coming out. Section 69 of the IT Act, that is something that X has been pointing towards. This section gives the government the powers to write down to all the social media platforms and ask them to take down content which the government believes is not right for India. A government has come out and given out a statement. What will X do next? That's the big question for now.
No, but why was Reuters?
That's what we are seeing, Rajdeep,
but
Aishwarya,
Reuters is a global site. So when X says that Reuters was being blocked, surely X would not do it on its own. There will be questions. There were questions during Operation Sindoor, and these questions are now being asked again. Is the government trying to block anyone who's seen as inconvenient?
Well, Rajdeep, the government comes out and gives very clear statements, and they are saying that they are not doing anything like that. In fact, late at night also, when we in fact had got in touch with the IT ministry, they had clearly said that these orders were not given from their side. Technicalities is something that the government at the moment is speaking about. They are saying that the moment they got to know that Reuters World was not available, withheld is something that they were seeing, they immediately got in touch with X. X, however, has given out a lengthy statement, and they are now saying that they will look at legal options, but the ongoing battle is still continuing in the Karnataka High Court between X and the Indian government, Rajdeep.
Okay, Elon Musk and Narendra Modi on other sides of the fence on this particular issue. Aishwarya Paliwal joining us with those details. Let me turn to another focus tonight. The language row in Maharashtra, in Mumbai in particular, is showing no signs of ending. Today, several members of the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, the party led by Raj Thackeray, were detained during a protest march they took out on the issue in Thane. The latest face-off started with MNS workers having assaulted a shopkeeper last week for not speaking in Marathi. The incident sparked angry reactions, but has also now led to a political face-off. We will focus in a moment on this language issue, but first take a look at all that happened today.
महाराष्ट्र में कौन सी भाषा बोली जाती है?
For the past several weeks, M&S workers have been making news for the wrong reasons. Assaulting North Indian labourers and vendors after they expressed their inability to converse in Marathi, Maharashtra's native language. But the breaking point has been this incident from earlier this month, where a food stall owner in Bhayandar area was slapped by some M&S workers for not speaking Marathi. It led to a tit-for-tat face-off on Tuesday when several workers of Raj Thackeray's party were detained during a rally to counter a protest staged by traders in Maharashtra over the assault of a food stall owner for not speaking Marathi. Protests at Mira Bhayandar area brought Thane district to a standstill, with heavy police deployment and road blockage affecting traffic movement. Despite no police permission for the rally, on the route, M&S workers planned to march to Mumbai. However, the swift detention of M&S's Thane and Palghar heads and other leaders derailed the party's plans.
The large number of M&S workers were gathered here. The situation was getting out of hand, and this was not a very legit protest according to the police, which had not given them the permission. And that's one of the reasons why, the detention of these people took place in large numbers. And protest किस तरीके से आगे बढ़ेगा?
प्रोटेस्ट आता आम्ही तिकडे चाललेलो आहोत. तिकडे खूप मोठ्या संख्येने मराठी माणूस एकवटलेला आहे. त्यांचं अभिनंदन करण्यासाठी आणि त्यांना पाठिंबा आम्ही चाललेलो आहोत.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis says M&S workers did not follow permitted route.
इस प्रकार के प्रयोग यहाँ चलेंगे नहीं. जो मराठी आदमी है वो बड़े दिल का है. मराठी आदमी कभी छोटा सोच नहीं सकता, कभी संकुचित सोच नहीं सकता. इसलिए कोई प्रयोग करने की कोशिश भी करे तो नहीं हो पाएगा.
While the battle over Marathi pride raged on in the streets of Maharashtra, political war of words also escalated.
तो हिम्मत है तो आप हिंदी भाषी को मारते हो तो उर्दू भाषी को भी मारो, तमिलियन को भी मारो, आप जो है तेलुगु वाले को भी मारो. आप जो इस तरह की घटिया हरकत कर रहे हो, और मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि जब अपने घर में हो, महाराष्ट्र में हो, यदि बहुत बड़े बॉस हो तो चलो बिहार, चलो उत्तर प्रदेश, चलो तमिलनाडु, तुमको पटक पटक के मारेंगे.
मुझे आश्चर्य है महाराष्ट्र के मुख्यमंत्री और उनके पूरे कैबिनेट का. एक आदमी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का सांसद वहाँ बैठकर महाराष्ट्र के बारे में, मराठी आदमी के बारे में, मराठी मानुस के बारे में घटिया बातें करता है और आप चुप बैठे हो. आप कौन से मुख्यमंत्री हो? आपको छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज और बाला साहब ठाकरे का नाम लेने का अधिकार नहीं है भाई. एकनाथ शिंदे अपने आप को डुप्लीकेट शिवसेना का नेता मानता है ना, दाढ़ी पे हाथ घुमाते फिरता है. निकाल दो दाढ़ी आपकी. अगर दाढ़ी में दम नहीं है ना तो दाढ़ी काट कर घूमो, नहीं तो हम आपकी दाढ़ी काट देंगे. क्या चल रहा है आपका?
The language face-off comes ahead of possible BMC elections and has brought the warring Thackeray's together after 2 decades. Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray had held a joint Victory Day celebration on Saturday after the Fadnavis government dropped a plan to make Hindi the third language in primary schools. But can Marathi Manus politics dent the BJP's Hindutva card remains to be seen. With Vidya in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now is Priyanka Chaturvedi, Member of Parliament of the Shiv Sena UBT. Appreciate your joining us, ma'am. You are a Mumbaikar of North Indian origin. Presumably Hindi is your mother tongue. Aren't you embarrassed then when you see the M&S going around the streets of Mumbai, targeting, threatening those who don't speak Marathi, especially North Indians?
So firstly, Rajdeep, I'd like to begin by saying that yes, I am a first generation North Indian migrant from Uttar Pradesh, and I have been living in Mumbai, Maharashtra, and Mumbai has given me my career, has given me opportunities, has given my parents the opportunities, and that's why we have managed to thrive in a state like Maharashtra, and we have only gratitude for people of Maharashtra, gratitude for Maharashtra, and gratitude for the language and their culture. Those who are ungrateful, who provoke, who create problems, who humiliate, who insult, out of the 1.5 crore population of other states that are residing and coexisting peacefully with Maharashtrians in Maharashtra, there are a few who do create these problems. And if these problems lead to violence, there is a law and order mechanism which adheres to it. So no, I'm not embarrassed about things that have escalated. But yes, I would have been further embarrassed if what Bharatiya Janata Party is using my Hindi language to try and divide people of Maharashtra.
No,
one minute,
Priyanka ji, I just want to stop. No, 1 minute, ma'am. No, I asked you about the MNS quite simply because the Shiv Sena UBT held a joint rally with the MNS on the weekend. You described it as a historic moment, and the MNS continues in a way to target migrants from North India or those who they claim don't speak Marathi or speak Hindi. I want to very clear from you. Do you condemn that kind of behavior?
No, I'm sorry. No, so Rajdeep, you'll have to allow me to complete, because the problem did not start with what MNS did. The problem began with what Maharashtra state government tried to do, and what especially the Bharatiya Janata Party tried to do. And let's not forget, Bharatiya Janata Party is a political front which has divided people on the basis of religion, on the basis of caste, and now on the basis of language, and now state versus state. They've done this in Maharashtra too, where they experimented Marathas versus OBCs. It's a tried and tested toolkit that they have unleashed. And even after having to withdraw, they have members of parliament like Nishikant Dubey making the kind of most poisonous comments about people of Maharashtra. So who is speaking against Maharashtra and Maharashtra's interests is not people from North India or MNS. It is these very people who sow hatred in the minds of people. So I was just bringing the context here. So if they have taken law and order in their own hand, which is MNS, and they have not continued to target. When they came on the stage together, yes, it was a historic moment, because both of their efforts managed to ensure that Bharatiya Janata Party's politics of divide and rule and playing politics through a language imposition does not happen. And the question which Mr. Raj Thackeray asked even from that platform was, okay, if Hindi was a language that you made it the third language for Maharashtra, what is the third language for Hindi speaking states? So if they have options to learn a language that the children prefer, why do children from Maharashtra don't have that preference? And we've also clearly distinguished ourselves from how Tamil Nadu's fight against Hindi imposition is. We have a thriving Hindi film industry in Maharashtra. We have Bollywood. We have a television industry which is thriving. Out of the 12 crore people in Maharashtra, 1.5 crore come from states which are Hindi speaking. Why is it that everyone coexists? Whether they know Hindi, Marathi, or they don't know Marathi, it is when you start to humiliate, when you start to undermine, when you undermine a culture of a state which has given you just about everything. That is where the problem arises.
Ma'am, you're using very strong words. You're saying
broken, there are mechanisms.
You're saying there's an attempt to humiliate Marathi culture. You're saying this is BJP's politics of divide and rule. But they will turn around and say that it is the MNS and the Shiv Sena UBT with an eye on the BMC elections which is taking up this issue of the three-language formula in education to try and bring together the Marathi Manus and make the North Indian the enemy figure. So in a strange way, that will also be seen as divide and rule. Marathi versus non-Marathi.
No, they can... Let me... No, 1 second. Let me tell you, it wasn't... It was, of course, as political parties, the MNS, Shiv Sena, UBT, which is my party, they had raised this issue, but there was also the left, there was also the Marathi proponents of the language, those who have been fighting for the language to become a classical language. So, it wasn't just limited to a vote bank politics, please. It was more about when we had the celebratory, coming together of the two brothers, it was not under a political banner. It was under the interest of the state of Maharashtra. It had nothing to do with politics.
Ma'am,
so
come on. Are you telling me that there is no talk of a political alliance between the Thackeray brothers ahead of the BMC election, and that this is being seen as the first step towards that?
Of course, there has been a reconciliation on an issue which is close to even Uddhav Thackerayji's heart, even close to Raj Thackerayji's heart, which again brought them together on the same platform after 19 years. And that in itself is historic. But what is the politics behind it is what BJP began. BJP did not consult any other political party. They brought in a GR surreptitiously. They did not have an all-party meeting. They did not tell us how it is going to function. They did not even hear the opposition to it. And that is why you saw an opposition not just coming from political fronts. It came from everyone possible, and you saw them even at that victory rally that we had at the NSCI Dome. There were people who have fought passionately for the cause of Maharashtra, its culture, its values, its language. To reduce it to, oh look, BMC elections are coming, please let's not reduce it to that. This fight has not been for BMC or for state government elections or for Lok Sabha.
Okay. Do you believe though, Priyanka
I believe that every time any state...
Yes.
I will just complete it.
Please
I will complete it, and I will reiterate it because you've asked me this again very emphatically. So very emphatically I shall tell you. What has begun by the Bharatiya Janata Party was a case of politics. What was pushed back was the collective strength of those people who believe that the supremacy of a state cannot be reduced by the politics of the BJP, which is on the base of religion, which is on the base of caste, which is on the base of state versus state, which is on the base of a language.
Okay. Can I therefore ask you, do you believe Marathi should be, ma'am, just a minute, do you believe therefore, I've heard you out, do you believe that Marathi should be mandatory in Mumbai and indeed Maharashtra? It's the language of the state. Should it be mandatory for everyone therefore to learn Marathi?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be. Why should it not be? Do Bengali schools do not make Bengali mandatory? Do Karnataka schools in Karnataka don't make Kannadiga mandatory? Do schools in Tamil Nadu do not make Tamil mandatory? Punjab doesn't have Punjab as a mandatory language. Whichever language you go to, whichever state you go to, which have held on to their language identities, have ensured that their language is safe. But unfortunately, if you go to Rajasthan, you go to Uttar Pradesh, okay, now since you're asking about mandatory language, I cannot even speak Braj Bhasha, where my parents come from. And that's a dialect which has lost its context, and that is an unfortunate thing because it was it was alive for centuries, but we've just let it go. So it is absolutely all right for a state to fight for its cultural values as well as its language and to safeguard its language.
But do you speak
and I don't hold it against any state.
Do you speak Marathi yourself, Priyanka? Because I've heard the Shiv Sena Shinde Sena question, why is Priyanka Chaturvedi, who's of North Indian origin, given a Rajya Sabha? Why has the Shiv Sena over the years given tickets to people from other states if they have so much animus against North Indians? Do you speak Marathi, and do you believe that the point is it should be taken that should politics also be reserved only for Maharashtrians?
No, again I shall repeat, Maharashtrians or non-Maharashtrians, if they are speaking for the rights of Maharashtra, I think they are doing their responsibility towards the state of Maharashtra. I would want to ask the Shinde Sena, how many of them actually spoke up for Marathi becoming a classical language? How many people in their parliamentary delegations went out and met diaspora which comes from Maharashtra? How many of them are working towards creating a bridge so that the next generation of people who have migrated from India but come from Maharashtra continue to speak the Marathi language? And then I shall speak about what I have done, what I have not done. And I shall not be giving certificates or receiving certificates from a political party which has appropriated the legacy of Bala Saheb Thackeray ji and says that they are the true inheritors. So they giving me certificates are not the certificates I seek or my party seeks. My party, and I'm proud of the fact that while you'll accuse my party of being against North Indians, which is absolutely incorrect, untrue, or even accusation of we being against Hindi language, which is again incorrect, untrue. Absolutely. What we're saying is that the pride of the state, the dignity of the state, that's not a Google question. हो मी बोलतात पण मी माझी मराठी कमजोर आहे I say this on every platform, and again like I said, unfortunately for me I tried to learn French. I could not learn French. I tried to learn Braj Bhasha, which belongs to my parents. I could not learn that. Maybe I have a language deficiency for sure, but my intention for the state of Maharashtra would be way above my commitment to any other thing that I have in life, because everything that I have received in life is from Maharashtra, and every single effort that I make would be for the betterment of the people of Maharashtra. It could be a language deficiency on my part, and you all can hold me to account for that from every particular possible position possible, but you cannot hold me to the to account that I haven't spoken
Okay.
for the interest of the people of Maharashtra.
Fair
And
point.
that is a responsibility I will carry with me all my life. Thank you so much.
Fair point, Priyanka Chaturvedi, and I appreciate you joining us and speaking out on this contentious issue. Thank you so much. Okay, let's raise the big questions. The language row in Maharashtra, is it about politics or culture? Can Marathi Manus dent Hindutva? Language, politics or gundagardi? We heard Priyanka Chaturvedi of Sena UBT. I want to widen it. Smriti Kopikar is a senior journalist who's tracked Mumbai for decades. Sushi Ben Shah is spokesperson of the Shiv Sena, that's the Shinde group. And Bharat Dabolka, author and writer and theatre person, has been someone associated with Raj Thackeray in the past. I want to get each of you to respond to this. I want to, before I come, I want to come to you, Smriti Kopikar, first, because you've seen Mumbai over the years. Is this, again, Raj Thackeray or the Thackeray's using this Marathi Manus card to unite themselves ahead of a big election? Is this pure politics, or is this about preserving Marathi culture?
राजदीप, मी सुरुवातीला एवढंच म्हणेन, तापमान तापवला जात आहे. That is what it is. The atmosphere is being polarized, heated up. Whatever the compulsions, whatever the motives, we have to understand that this is a manufactured controversy. This has been done with an intent on whatever that goal might be. It might be the elections, local body elections that are coming up now, or it may be a much bigger game plan to diminish Maharashtra, to diminish Marathi on the one hand, and this narrative has happened over a period of time, over the last few years. And therefore, when the language row heats up in Maharashtra, it cannot be and it should not be seen in isolation. It is not just the anger and the ire, which, to the surprise of many of us, did not come only from the Shiv Sena or the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, which for them this is a plank, and that's the plank that the Shiv Sena was born on in June of 1966. But this comes on the back of a number of decisions, like moving investment away from Maharashtra, for example, linking certain major projects or railway lines from Maharashtra to Gujarat, for example. And so the public sentiment, as I get it, is about, is the center out to diminish Maharashtra and is therefore using Hindi as a tool to diminish Marathi language. I think that is where that sentiment comes from. And as I said, Rajdeep, it's worth noting that the opposition or the resistance to Marathi did not come only from the political parties. From April 16, 17, from the time the first GR was issued about making Hindi mandatory from class 1 to 5, a huge range of people have become active, from intellectuals, poets, writers, literateurs, theatre people, film people, people who work on Marathi language, so linguists, a whole range of them. It's possible that the news outside Maharashtra has not captured all of this entire range. But the resistance has been across the board. The Shiv Sena and the MNS have articulated that resistance in a way that news channels and news people would pick it up. And fair enough, that's their plank. They've done it. Should they do it this way? Of course not. I mean, violence is not going to serve any issue. And just as the BJP government has very selectively, sneakily brought in these two GRs, the opposition or the resistance has also been rather selective. They've gone after the shopkeepers and, the Aam Aadmi on the street saying,
Smriti, let me stop you. Smriti, let me stop you. I've heard you.
Let me finish. They've not gone against the upper class migrants. They've not gone against the children. They've not gone and asked the children of wealthy Mumbaikars this question. Tula Marathi bolta yeta ka? They've not, because they dare not do it.
Okay, Sushi Ben Shah, there is a lot in what Smriti Kopikar says that you need to respond to. Primarily, it is being suggested that this has been boiling for a point. the manner in which leaders come to Maharashtra and say we are taking investments away to Gujarat, there is a sense that the Marathi Manus may well be feeling that he or she is not in control of the destiny of his city or her city and the state. And along comes the Thakres to capitalize on it. There existed a fertile ground, and Eknath Shinde, having allied to the BJP, was in no position to challenge the BJP. The Thakres have taken up the challenge, possibly for pure politics, but at the end of the day, it's always been about politics.
Good evening, Mr. Sardesai. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. Now, let me start by to rebut to what Priyanka Chaturvedi said. You know, I was really shocked, aghast, and amused by the kind of brazen half lies, half truth that she propagated. It was us, when Eknath Raoji Shinde, our Mukhya Neta, was the CM, that we got the classical language stated, Abhijat Bhashacha Darja. It was them who ensured that all the Marathi language speaking people go out of Mumbai. Housing was shifted outside Mumbai. It was when our Eknath Raoji Shinde was the urban development minister of housing, that Abhyuday Nagar, Ramabai Nagar was started. People are got back. It is them who was doing the corporation that all the Marathi...
Is it not true that when Eknath Shinde was chief minister, major projects were taken away from Maharashtra to Gujarat?
Absolutely not. We are today the largest. Since the Mahayuti government has come, we are the largest income tax player, the GST player, number one in financial position, number one in financial institutions.
That existed before as well.
No, not number one. You see the GST collection, Mr. Sardesai. I'll just tell you exact number.
What does that have to do with Marathi Asmita? They are saying that the notion of Maharashtra pride in some way has been undermined.
No, I'll tell you this. Shiv Sena stands for the Marathi people, the Marathi language, and the culture of Marathi people. You have traveled across Maharashtra on the Election on My Plate, the show which I just love. And you've seen that Maharashtra is all about Shahu, Phule, Ambedkar. We've imbibed the blessings of Maharashtra. But this political party, the so-called Medava they had, was not about Marathi Manus, but it was PP, Parivar Pratham. They have no agenda. They have no agenda. So this is the only thing that they are hanging on to. Okay. Trust me, Mr. Sardesai. When you ask Priyanka, मी व्यवस्थित मराठी बोलते, मी मुंबईकर आहे, पण मी गुजराती नाही. पण माझी अन्नपूर्णा, माझी कर्मभूमी मराठी आहे आणि मला अत्यंत सन्मान आहे मराठीसाठी आणि मी नेहमी बोलत असते. Mr. Sardesai, you must speak.
Good to hear you, Sushi Ben Shah speaking in Marathi. Mari पण गुजराती बहुत सरस छे, आटली सरस નથી, પણ મારી પણ गुजराती, and that's India. That's India where you can speak multiple languages. Let me take that to you, Bharat Dabolkar. Bharat Dabolkar, you see, it's all very well to say Hindi is being imposed. You yourself well know Mumbai has always had Hindi being spoken at the street level, Bombaya Hindi, call it what you will. Suddenly, the Shiv Sena MNS believes Hindi is being imposed on the people of Mumbai. All of this seems as pure politics to an outsider. In any case, violence or gundaism is unacceptable in the name of language.
I'll tell you, Rajdeep, I have been very close to Bala Saheb Thackeray. I am very close to Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray. I have shared many platforms with them. But I'm a true blue Maharashtrian. I have done my entire schooling in Marathi from Montessori to SSC exams. I only spoke little bit English from my 8th standard. But I'll tell you one thing, this whole issue, everybody, maybe for political reasons, is complicating it beyond what it should be doing. A person speaks a second language away from the mother tongue or the local language because it's a necessity for them to speak that language. I'll give you an example. I have had an agency in Tanzania, advertising agency for 14 years. I have had Maharashtrian art directors with their families staying in Tanzania. Now my art director's wife only speaks Marathi. Her cook who comes is a Tanzanian. She can't speak Marathi. She can't speak English. She only speaks Swahili. So if my art director's wife has to give her instructions about how much food to cook, she has to learn basic Swahili to communicate that with her. If she has to talk to the driver speaks Swahili and English. She can't speak Swahili or English. She only
but you
speaks
can't
Marathi.
make it mandatory. That's organic. You see, because of job necessities, you do it. You can't force it on people. The worry is you're forcing it on people.
When it is necessary, Rajdeep, people pick up that language, at least the kind of language or the kind of sentences they need to learn, because it's a necessity for survival. In Mumbai, unfortunately, we are such a cosmopolitan city that a man who comes from outside, his servant is not Maharashtrian, his dhobi is not Maharashtrian, his bhelwala is not Maharashtrian, his bhajiwala is not. So he is not required to speak Marathi. The problem is not whether Marathi pride or Hindi pride. Is he required to learn that language for living in this society? And he is not in Mumbai.
Okay.
In Tamil Nadu, he has to speak Tamil to exist. In West Bengal, he has to learn Bengali to exist. Here, a man from outside can happily carry on for 25 years without speaking a single word in Marathi. I am a proud Maharashtrian. As I said, I'm the only one on this panel who studied Marathi and nothing else. But I speak Gujarati, I read and write Gujarati, I act in a Gujarati play. I speak Bengali, I speak a stuttering of Tamil, I speak Hindi. I'm not saying, but that is my hobby, that is my passion. But unless I was forced, why would I learn a new language?
You know, I wish we could widen this, and maybe this Friday we'll do this as a round table and get some of you on it. I'm going to get both of you 30 seconds each, starting with you, Sushiben Shah. Sushiben Shah, you want to respond to this, that there should also be, you will agree, you cannot impose a language on children in class 1. Leave that again optional. Let it be organic. You cannot impose it. Agreed or not?
No. The limited point here is, Dabolkar sahib, મને ઘણો આનંદ થયો કે તમે પણ ગુજરાતી નાટક કરો છો. I welcome it. And I also, this is what true spirit of India is. But I would like to tell you this, the duplicity. UBT, Ubata is forcing Marathi language. Their own MP can't speak the language. I mean, I'm aghast. And they don't, we as Shiv Sena are very clear. You can't humiliate the Marathi language or Marathi people, you'll pay a price. But we don't take law on their own hand. Did Priyanka Chaturvedi condemn Manase? No, they don't have the guts, because that is the only thing.
Okay, your point is taken, Sushiben. Your point is taken. As I said, I wish I had more time. I want to give Smriti just 30 seconds. Smriti Kopikar, just 30 seconds. Is this language now, you think, going to escalate further?
It could escalate further. And I think we need to be seeing it in its totality. Not just about the MNS and Shiv Sena coming down in the only manner they know, with violence against people or the common people who can't speak Marathi. The genesis of this started with imposition of Hindi, making Hindi mandatory from class 1 to 5 in schools across Maharashtra. Please note that Hindi has always been taught in schools in Maharashtra. I passed out of class 10 SSC with Hindi as my second language. So it's not that Hindi was not being taught in schools. The mandatory nature of that circular, of that GR, is what has sparked off the whole thing. And then when there was resistance, just a minute, Rajiv, when there was resistance, there was a second GR that tried to sneak in the Hindi. So what is this? I think the opposition is not to Hindi, but to the imposition and the sneaking in of Hindi.
I've completely run out of time. As I said, we will widen this debate. We'll do a full hour-long show on language, not just Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, all the states. But I thank you, my guests, for joining me. It's a fascinating subject. To what extent can language be taught organically or grown organically, or does it have to be imposed from the top? Is uniformity really what India wants, or diversity when it comes to language? Okay, let's turn from there to the national capital, where the big story is days after the Delhi government rolled back a ban on sale of fuel to banned vehicles, the Commission for Air Quality Management on Tuesday decided to widen the ban to cover the entire national capital region. The ban will take effect on November 1st. What it means is that diesel cars, which are 10 years old, will go off the streets as per the government, and 15 years for petrol cars. But there are so many policy flip-flops that car owners are left disappointed. Take a look.
Banned or not banned, or somewhere in limbo. Delhi's flip-flops over its end-of-life policy for vehicles has left many citizens confused, cheated, and financially burdened. Including this man, who had to sell his 88 lakh rupee Mercedes for the price of a second-hand hatchback. In 2010, Kamaljit Singh Saini, bought a top-of-the-line Mercedes, a gift that matched his father's dream and the family's pride. But 14 years later, that same car was sold for just rupees 7.5 lakh. Not because it was faulty or polluting, but because of Delhi's blanket ban on diesel vehicles over 10 years old.
ये हमने एस मॉडल मर्सिडीज गाड़ी खरीदी और बेसिकली ये गाड़ी हमने कस्टमाइज करवाई थी पुणे से मर्सिडीज के शोरूम पे। हमको अप्रॉक्सीमेटली कोई 88 lakhs to 90 lakhs की पड़ी थी। जो 15 साल का टैक्स था लाइफ टाइम वो हमने पेड किया है। तो एकदम से कुल्हाड़ी चलने वाली बात है, परेशान भी हम रहते हैं। किस तरीके अब क्या है वो।
And then there's Sanjay Gupta from Model Town, who bought a diesel i20 in 2015 for 8.8 lakh rupees, paying 77,000 rupees in road tax. He had assumed the car had a 15-year life. But 2 years later, the NGT reduced diesel car lifespans in Delhi to 10 years. Fearing that his car would be scrapped, Sanjay sold it in November 2024, only to get a fresh registration certificate from the Transport Department a month later, saying his car was valid till 2030.
डीजल की गाड़ी थी i20, करीब 9.5 लाख रुपए की मैंने उस वक्त पेमेंट करी इंक्लूडिंग रोड टैक्स के। मुझे उस वक्त ये बताया गया था कि ये गाड़ी 15 साल के लिए वैलिड। ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट ने हमें वैलिड पोल्यूशन सर्टिफिकेट दिया जो अप्रैल 25 तक वैलिड था। ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट ही हमें आरसी इशू कर रहा है जो कि 2030 तक वैलिड है, 15 साल तक।
The confusion runs deeper. After the Delhi government rolled back its end-of-life vehicle policy, people whose cars were already impounded started asking, will we get them back? This is what the Delhi government had to say.
80 गाड़ियाँ जो पकड़ी गई थी उसमें से काफ़ी गाड़ी को जो इम्पाउंड किया गया उन्हें चालान काट के छोड़ा जा चुका है। अगर ऐसी कोई गाड़ी होगी तो उसे भी छुड़वाएंगे। नियम है कि पहली बार चालान काटता है, दूसरी बार ये पुराना नियम चला स्क्रैप की बात है, लेकिन अभी फिलहाल इसको रोक दिया गया है।
But most importantly, the rollback only affects the fuel-based end-of-life clause, not the court-mandated CEQM directives, which means even today, diesel automobiles older than 10 years and petrol ones older than 15 years remain illegal on Delhi's roads.
ये गाड़ियां अभी नहीं चल सकती। ये गाड़ियां क्योंकि हमारा जो वाहन पोर्टल है एक तो वाहन पोर्टल के हिसाब से दीज गाड़ी आर एक्सपायर्ड और एक्सपायर्ड गाड़ी इज नो रजिस्ट्रेशन। नो रजिस्ट्रेशन का मतलब 192 सेक्शन पेनल्टी विच इज 10,000 मिनिमम स्टार्टिंग एंड इट इज फॉर 2-wheeler as well as for the 4-wheeler same.
Policies that shift without clarity, vehicle owners caught between rules and reversals, and crores worth of cars sold for scrap. For Delhi's motorists, the road to compliance has become an expensive and emotional ride. Bureau Report, India Today.
So does the ban on old cars reduce pollution as is now being claimed? Old vehicle ban, should there be a rethink? Why is the ban limited to Delhi and its suburbs? Should it be a national ban if at all? I'm joined by two guests for quick comments because we are short on time tonight. Anumita Roy Chaudhary is Executive Director, Centre for Science and Environment, focuses a lot on traffic. Chetan Bhutani is Associate Editor, Business Today, also looks at the auto industry closely. But first you, Anumita, how do you interpret this? We've seen so many flip-flops. The government says first we are not going to allow fuel to be given to cars that are old beyond 10 and 15 years. Then it's forced to reverse it. Now it's saying November 1st is the new deadline. Are these flip-flops, if you can hear us? Okay, before Anumita apparently can't hear us, why don't you take that, Chetan, explain to us why these old cars far more polluting than a swanky new diesel or petrol car?
Well, Rajdeep, correctly pointed out, these old cars are really contributing to about 28% of the entire PM 2.5 levels in Delhi. The major contributors to the pollution in Delhi constitute about 30% coming from industries, construction dust from 17%, road dust 15%, biomass burning 7%, and domestic sources 3%. And this is a report I'm quoting from the TERI ARI report. Well, the main reason for these polluting is, of course, the commercial vehicle fleets that need to be weeded out first. However, after the public outcry, I remember, Rajdeep, you were hearing the aggrieved consumers, because the road tax that they paid was for 15 years, whereas their vehicle was wheeled out after 10 years. So a big financial burden came out to those consumers as well, because not everybody is in a position to financially pay out a 10-year-old car and eventually buy a new car or a second-hand car for themselves, since a car is of a very valuable asset in Indian household society. But to answer your question, Rajdeep, are old vehicles dirtier? A BS1 diesel vehicle, which is a pre-2005 vehicle, emits 28 to 30 times more of PM 2.5 versus a BS6 vehicle, which we currently drive on Indian roads. So to answer your question, Rajdeep, yes, older vehicles do emit, pollution, but yes, there are a lot of policy flip-flops that the central government, the state government, and the consumers have to be dealt with.
Let me take those policy flip-flops. Anumita Roy Chaudhary, your quick comment. Do you believe that it's necessary to phase out all old cars by law, by diktat, in the manner now that the government intends to do come November 1st?
No, Rajdeep. So while I believe that older vehicles need to be addressed for fleet renewal so that you can replace very old and end-of-life vehicles with new, clean, and zero-emission vehicles, but the method has to be different. The sweeping ban, age-based ban, blanket ban is not going to work at all. So we already know, and there are systems, that you need to identify the most polluting end-of-life vehicles and then weed them out. And therefore, the whole system needs to be based on merit of emission performance and fitness, and wherever needed, selective ban along with incentives. That has to be the strategy. So while we...
No, so you're saying, are you saying you can't have a fixed age that 10-year-old cars, 10-year-old diesel will be weeded out, 15-year-old? You're saying case-by-case basis? How will the government be able to do that?
Yes. So for instance, for commercial vehicles already, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has already notified the rule that the commercial vehicles will have to undergo mandatory testing in automated testing stations that are being set up across the country, and also it has been set up in Delhi. And there they should identify, based on those tests, what are those end-of-life and unfit vehicles. But yes, the criteria for defining end-of-life for private vehicles is still not that clear. And we need those systems. But then also remember that it's just not taking the vehicles only to the testing stations. The Supreme Court in 2018 had already directed the Delhi government and the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to institute the system of remote sensing monitoring, which goes beyond the current PUC test, which means you don't have to take your car somewhere to get it tested. But as you are driving on the road, the machines by the roadside will monitor you, and those pilots have already happened in Delhi. But now rules have to be notified for doing that. So a lot of smart...
But ma'am, that's, the worry is that what car drivers are worried is that they will get caught in a near bureaucratic maze. What happened a week or so ago, cars were being impounded and fuel was being denied to those with old cars. Now, can you do it by diktat in that manner? Is that the way forward?
That's not feasible with such large number of vehicles. And also, technically, it is also not even advisable that you cannot continuously keep taking 10-year-old and 15-year-old out from Delhi, Gurgaon, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, and dump them in other regions. So you have to find other ways. And we know from the evidence that it is not all vehicles. It is the selected vehicles which contribute disproportionately to the high pollution. So now, see, when you do not have a system in place, then ban remains your only weapon to address the problem. But not in this age, not in Delhi. When we have the rules, we have the system. The state-of-the-art testing stations have already been set up in Delhi. Pilots on remote sensing have happened. Why can't we go for smart? One is the smart.
So would you say, in conclusion, annual testing of every vehicle being made mandatory, annual testing, you pass the test, you can carry on with the car, you don't, that's it.
Especially after a certain age. Then you make the tests more frequent, also do a lot more on-road emission monitoring, but more important, you should also have a disclosure policy on the way the vehicles have been tested and their results. Otherwise, you may do tests and then through the continuous process of retest, you end up passing almost all vehicles. The system also has to work. So system, smart monitoring, transparency, digitization, and disclosure. That has to be the way forward.
Anumita Roy Chaudhary for joining us there. I hope someone in the Delhi government is listening. All these flip-flops have only, in a way, undermined public confidence in the system. Chetan and Anumita, appreciate you joining me. Let's take a break. When we return, floods wreak havoc in Himachal Pradesh's Mandi. We'll have a ground report that will tell you more. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
How has he seen a doll?
Gotta head on spin, never blending, dripping in, dripping, like so clean.
Moto G96 5G.
All eyes on you.
Hello, Moto.
એ સાંભળ કર હા આ મારો પપ્પા ફોરેન થી લઈ આવ્યો છે એ સત્યાનાશ ભાઈ નુકસાન कैसा भरेगा तू
स्टॉक मार्केट में भी रिस्क उतना ही लें जितने की कैपेसिटी और रिस्क की जानकारी हो। मार्जिन ट्रेडिंग बहुत सोच समझ कर करें, वरना भारी नुकसान उठाना पड़ सकता है।
अरे वाह दीकरा एकदम बराबर
सोच कर समझ कर इन्वेस्ट कर।
Motorola Razr 60, dangerously cool.
Hi, here are the top headlines presented by Motorola. BJP fact-finding team submits report to JP Nadda on Kolkata gang rape. Nadda slams Bengal government as insensitive. 2 youths held in West Bengal for spying for Pakistan. 2,000 illegal houses razed in Assam's Dhubri during eviction drive.
Welcome back. It's been a tough few days for the people of Mandi in Himachal Pradesh. Flash floods and landslide have resulted in widespread destruction in Mandi and several parts of the state of Himachal. Over 80 people have died so far, with Mandi the worst hit. Our ground report today is from Mandi.
Submerged roads, damaged homes, and over 70 deaths. Incessant rains have wreaked havoc in Himachal Pradesh. From waterlogged roads to uprooted trees and overflowing rivers, chaos grips multiple districts. Over 240 roads remain blocked and 278 power transformers are down, plunging many areas into darkness.
We are at main market, which has seen the major disaster, major impact, and this is the HP States Cooperative Bank, and you see even the shops, homes, residential area here, including the market, is totally damaged. This is the situation in each and every shop and home here in Tunag.
Mandi has taken the worst hit, with extensive damage to homes and infrastructure.
इस वक्त मेरे विधानसभा क्षेत्र के अंतर्गत लगभग 600 मकान टोटल वॉश आउट हो गए हैं, जहां मकान नए सिरे से बनाना पड़ेगा, और लगभग 1000 से ऊपर का नंबर बन रहा है जो पार्शियली डैमेज, कोई घर बचा नहीं है।
Displaced families are spending nights in relief camps or sheltering with relatives.
फ्लड आने की वजह से ये सारे मकान चले गए हैं। 5 मकान बिल्कुल ख़राब हो चुके हैं और जिस रात को ये हुआ था हम अपनी जान बचा के मुश्किल से भागे हुए हैं।
मकान ध्वस्त हो गया है, तो ना पहनने कपड़े रहे ना कुछ रहे, और मकान बनना चाहिए हमारा, और बस और हमारे को कुछ नहीं चाहिए, और कहीं सेफ जगह हमारी व्यवस्था हो जाए।
In a rare piece of good news, a dog's timely bark helped 67 people escape just before floodwaters hit a village in Mandi. Rescue teams from the NDRF, SDRF, Army, ITBP and Home Guards are racing against time to find the missing and deliver aid. 20 teams have been deployed to deliver ration and medical kits in remote, cut-off regions.
हिमाचल प्रदेश में काफ़ी तबाही हुई है और अभी तक की बारिश में 10 करोड़ बस्ट हो चुके हैं और पेयजल योजनाओं को भी नुकसान हुआ है।
With more rain expected, the Met Department has issued a red alert for Kangra, Mandi and Sirmaur districts. Bureau Report, India Today.
It has become a tragic annual feature, these flash floods in Himachal Pradesh. I want to leave you with our image of the day tonight. It's of a Kerala forest officer being widely praised after a video of her rescuing a 16-foot-long king cobra went viral. That's right. The dramatic rescue captured on cam shows beat forest officer G.S. Roshni calmly and skillfully capturing the venomous snake from a stream frequently used by locals for bathing. That's right, she's quite a cobra catcher, and it is quite an image. Happens, I think, only in India. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri. Jai Hind, Namaskar. Stay away from snakes, real and not so real. Bye for now.
સંભાળ કર હા, આ મારો પપ્પા ફોરેન થી લઈ આવ્યો છે. એ સત્યાનાશ! भाई नुकसान कैसा भरेगा तू?
स्टॉक मार्केट में भी रिस्क उतना ही लें जितने की कैपेसिटी और रिस्क की जानकारी हो। मार्जिन ट्रेडिंग बहुत सोच समझ कर करें, वरना भारी नुकसान उठाना पड़ सकता है।
अरे वाह दिकरा, एकदम बराबर।
सोच कर, समझ कर, इन्वेस्ट कर।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
સંભાળ કર હા, આ મારો પપ્પા ફોરેન થી લઈ આવ્યો છે. सत्यानाश! भाई नुकसान कैसा भरेगा तू?
स्टॉक मार्केट में भी रिस्क उतना ही लें जितने की कैपेसिटी और रिस्क की जानकारी हो। मार्जिन ट्रेडिंग बहुत सोच समझ कर करें, वरना भारी नुकसान उठाना पड़ सकता है।
अरे वाह दिकरा, एकदम बराबर।
सोच कर, समझ कर, इन्वेस्ट कर।
Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching News Track here on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal and we're counting down to the announcement expected from America on the trade deal with India. It's a limited trade deal, the announcement that's expected today, as there are some sticking points which is expected to be addressed in the next few days. What can you expect from this limited trade deal? How has India really dealt with Trump and these tariffs? We're going to be breaking it down for you over the next half hour. Here are the headlines first. Government of India rejects X's press censorship charge, says never asked X to block Reuters handles. IT Ministry says X was asked to immediately unblock accounts. Air India plane crash probe team submits preliminary report to Government. Parliamentary committee seeks timeline for complete probe report on Air India plane crash. Bihar Chief Minister's big woman outreach before polls promises 35% quota in government jobs for women from the state. Massive stir in Mumbai. MNS and Uddhav Sena workers raised protests and slogans against injustice to Marathi people, slamming police and state government. Several protesters detained. Tragic accident in Tamil Nadu's Kadalur. 3 students killed as school bus and train collide. DMK alleges railway gatekeeper didn't understand Tamil, cites language barrier as reason for the tragedy. Let's begin with all the details that we're picking up here on India Today on the trade deal between India and America. Been in the work for the last many months now. We're hearing that the announcement could come any time now on exactly what the trade deal looks like. But here's what we're picking up from our sources. There's going to be a limited trade deal for now. Essentially because there are a few sectors on which there's been no middle ground that India and America have been able to reach. So you're going to see a limited trade deal. India reportedly is held very firm on its key demands, not giving in and making it clear that these are issues we're not willing to bargain on. America has shown willingness to engage, but the limited deal will cover some select sectors where there's a broader understanding between India and America. The broader trade pact, perhaps including sectors like dairy and agriculture, which have been the biggest bones of contention, that you can expect later. But we're hearing that the announcement could happen any time now and that there will be an announcement made by America. This will be, of course, the second day because yesterday you already had Trump releasing a whole lot of what's referred to as the tariff letters now for countries like Japan and several others. Trump already has announced a 25% tariff. Remains to be seen what exactly the trade deal with India will look like. Let's bring in our reporters on this broadcast. I've got Pranay Upadhyay, editor of India Today Global, Karishma Asudani, who's joining us. She's from Business Today TV. Pranay, I'm going to come across to you first on when we're expecting the formal announcement on this limited trade deal.
There are indications that this limited trade deal can be announced anytime soon. The indications are there that can be announced today even. We have been getting that this interim trade deal will exclude the sticky points, the points pertaining to the agriculture market access, the issues related to our dairy products, and certain other areas where India has that concern. And this trade negotiation, it's a complex process. Akshita, it's been on since quite some time, and in fact, President Donald Trump has also acknowledged the fact that India is one of the few countries which has started these trade negotiation with the United States with the with the Trump administration at the very early stage. You will recall, Akshita, that on 12th of February 2025, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump met in Oval Office, both the leaders have announced the initiation of this bilateral trade agreement negotiations. And in fact, they have set a target, a very ambitious target of $500 billion bilateral trade. And this bilateral trade agreement is to reach that target, to accomplish that target. So this clearly shows that there is an intention, there is an object, but obviously trade is a very complex negotiation process. Every tariff line,
And the
every
fact that
product,
we've
you
been
have
seeing
to.
negotiations going on for months together between India and America. Let me bring in Karishma Sudani also to kind of decode what we could be talking about when we say limited trade deal. Karishma, what are you picking up from your sources? What are the sectors that will be a part of the deal for now? We understand, of course, as Pranay was also telling us, dairy, agriculture, not expected that there will be any sort of deal or agreement on those sectors for now.
Akshita, there is absolute clarity on one aspect that we are not a part of the letters. In fact, government is confident of the fact that the negotiations that they've had in Washington, which extended beyond 2 days, have made it to a limited trade deal pact. Now, the reason I call this as limited is because India has taken a tough stance, a breaking stance on the fact that they are not going to do away with the sectors that's important for their domestic and local interests. Pranay already mentioned about how important agriculture, dairy, soy, rice or wheat is to us. At the same time, US has been pushing that they should also get access and bring their products across these sectors, especially that related to maize and soy, which is big in India. Officials have also told me that had the negotiations not taken a form of consensus, India was ready to take the 26% tariff, but was not willing to budge on letting go of these sectors. So that's big on our part, because the fact that we've had a first mover advantage, yet we have not given in any desperation, speaks volumes about how important was for the trade ministry officials to be able to finalize these negotiations. Now the deal be announced today, tomorrow, or even if it's going to extend beyond July 9, it may not be very bothersome, because clearly we may not be a part of the August 1 list anymore.
Okay, interesting. So there is a scope for, in fact, an extended timeline to take talks forward, in which case then remains to be seen whether we're still going to be seeing a limited trade deal or if there's going to be any breakthrough when, you see talks moving forward. But what's very clear is that both India and America have been approaching this with a very open mind to ensure that both countries benefit. And that's something we'll talk about also as we move forward in this broadcast of how this kind of a trade deal, look, it's not just about takeaways and positive ones for India, but also very much for America. They've been pushing hard, so have we. But at the same time, it looks like there have been some agreements that have been signed right now. At this point, I can confirm for you that US President Trump is currently also addressing a news conference where he is speaking a whole lot about really the tariffs, highlighting again the deadline that Karishma referred to of August 1st. Not necessarily for India, but at the same time, he seems to be shooting off one warning after another to other countries as well. And here comes the big question, Pranay, of the BRICS factor. And the fact that Trump, even now, just shortly before, has said that BRICS is going to get a 10% charge pretty soon. So, what does that mean for a country like India too?
Indeed, and you rightly pointed out, Akshita, this has come at a time when India has just assumed the presidency of BRICS. So this will be a challenge for India to balance the diplomacy. But on the other side, if you see India and President Donald Trump's attitude towards India, he has always indicated that India is negotiating with the United States, and soon India and United States will have a trade negotiation. But as far as the BRICS is concerned, certainly President Donald Trump has been critical about the BRICS. And, if you see his previous statements as well, he always warned about the de-dollarization or any possibility of replacing dollar as the global currency. So, US has every reason to feel, concerned about these things. But whether he will impose additional 10% tariff or not, because everyone is expecting only wanting to have a consistency in a statement. Even the tariff policies, if you see, the bigger concern is the volatility in the market, the volatility in his policies, the volatility in his tariff announcements. So what we are expecting of the globally, every country is expecting that there should be a consistency, and we do not know what he is saying, what he is threatening, or what he is going to implement it, because we have heard around 150% of tariff announcement regarding China. But now there is absolutely kind of a silence about the China, and the US administration has already announced that they have cracked a deal with China as far as the trade is concerned.
Let's just look at really how negotiations have played out between America and India. Here's a quick look at the timeline before I take this across to Geeta Mohan as well. In February, you had the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, in which India also went ahead and reduced tariffs. Remember that Trump, in the run-up to this, has been making many statements referring to India as the tariff king, saying that India's tariffs are unfair. And then a few months later, this is right when America started then slapping tariffs on every country. India too, US imposed a 10% baseline tariff on all imports, and India faced a 26% tariff. On April 9, the formal announcement was made of reciprocal tariffs taking effect. There were so many questions really of what that means for every single country. As far as India went, which like I said, Trump referred to as the tariff king, India faced a 26% tariff. But then right after that, on the very same day, President Trump announced a 90-day pause on the tariff, essentially giving way for 3 months of non-stop dialogue with every country, including India as well. So then what you saw is right after about 7 days from that particular announcement, India considered removing import tax on US ethane and on LPG. After that, April 21st, US Vice President J.D. Vance visited India. A number of things on the agenda, but clearly the focus was also on what will emerge as far as a trade deal goes between India and America. Each of these visits has been crucial in reaching this stage where we're talking about a limited trade deal. You had also a formal trade discussion kicking off on April 23rd. It was very clear that there's a 90-day roadmap, keeping in mind the fact that you had Donald Trump's deadline of 1st August. Now, Trump has been addressing a news conference where he's spoken also about his tariff plan, about the fact that he's already gone ahead and announced a slew of tariffs just yesterday. Listen in to his latest statement.
We will have taken in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariff, the major tariff not having started until the second quarter. So we could expect that that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year.
The big money will start coming in on August 1st. I think it was made clear today by the letters that were sent out yesterday and today. The big money will start coming in on August 1st. I think it was made clear today by the letters that were sent out yesterday and today.
Okay, let me bring in Geeta Mohan also on this broadcast. Geeta, we're talking about a limited trade deal for now. There's some, questions about whether we're going to see that announcement come in the next few moments. It could be pushed by another 24 hours. But Karishma was also highlighting for us, Geeta, how the deadline of August 1st, which Trump has been reiterating repeatedly, spoke about it today as well, doesn't really count for India.
Well, it doesn't count for India because the conversations between India and the United States of America are underway. Although when the finance secretary was in D.C. Negotiating terms and conditions with America, he did not come back successful. But now we're looking at conversations that have moved ahead, and there could very well be a limited trade deal. What does that mean? What does that entail is the big question over here. The fact, Akshita, is that India is very clear on a few things, that agro products will have to be left out, that dairy is something that India is not going to touch when it comes to the United States of America, and that America will have to honor those requirements of India as well when they're looking at concessions in tariffs for what they want to bring in to India. A limited trade deal, waiting for the fine print, a very important one. Donald Trump's press briefing is underway as we speak. He did mention the policies on tariffs for the 14 countries. He's also going to announce letters are going to go out for the European Union as well. So again, a very significant development there, but a threat to India, like we just played out when it comes to, or the BRICS forum, when it comes to the de-dollarization scare that America has. He has called it an anti-America plank. One will have to wait and see how that BRICS nations are going to deal with, because that's an additional 10. Serious concerns there, but awaiting what this limited trade deal would entail, what it would comprise of when it comes to India and the United States of America.
And let's just also put the focus on why this trade deal is beneficial, not just for India, but very much for America too. We'll break that down for you, focusing first on the benefits for India from this kind of a trade deal with America. There will be exemption from US tariffs on key exports. So India as a market will benefit from that. Boost to textiles, leather, gem. These are some of the exports that we in fact rely on America for. There's also long-term US LNG supply at stable prices. We saw developments on this from April as well. US investments in tech, pharma and electronics hopefully will open up opportunities for more investment from America to be pumped into India. As far as America goes, there are a number of aspects they're looking into, but the benefits from an ideal trade deal is that there will be lower Indian tariffs on agriculture, auto, medical goods. There is, of course, that question mark on agri because it's one of those sticking points between India and America. It will also mean more access for US digital service companies. We know India is a huge market for them, so they will also benefit from this trade deal. Increased exports of LNG, which I referred to earlier, of defense and tech. And we've seen, of course, a whole lot of defense deals between India and America that could get pushed forward as well. Strengthened supply chains away from China. This is perhaps most important for America because they've been constantly trying to ensure that they isolate China and ensure China is not as powerful. And so for that, they're hugely reliant on India, on ensuring that India-US ties continue to grow in the path that it has been. Let's talk about the mutual benefits for both countries, why this is a win-win situation if there's a proper trade deal. A target to raise trade to $500 billion obviously benefits both India and America. You'll see then streamlined trade norms as well as customs procedures. There's also deeper strategic alignment in the Indo-Pacific. And so you will have US then ensuring that they have a trusted partner in India. Economic resilience, because you're seeing essentially trade ties diversifying across various sectors with very clear, streamlined decisions on exactly what those trade ties look like. And let me take this across to Karishma again. Karishma, what would be an ideal trade deal for India? There's been a lot of negotiations, of course, that have been taking place. But what's a trade deal that we could look at and say this is perfect for India?
Well, an ideal trade deal for India would be clearly a greater market access in the US with protection of its sensitive sectors, especially the one that we are talking about. Maybe a zero or low tariffs on sectors that have already been doing well, take it textiles or leather or gems and jewelry, which are labor-intensive sectors for India. And India has put its best foot forward in conveying this to the US. Priority access for pharma and genetic drugs is also something that could be included. But knowing the fact that how tariffs on pharma have come along, this could also be slightly on the sensitive note. So let's keep steel, auto and pharma aside, and of course agri aside. And besides this, all the sectors that are included will have a larger benefit for India taking in its relationship with the US forward. And Akshita, it's going to be two-way. It is not just us having an opportunity to increase our exports and trying to finally utilize or bank upon the China Plus One strategy, which we've been sitting for 5 years now. And since we've had a first mover advantage in this whole thing, it is very apt to say that keeping all the other South Asian countries aside, which were a part of China Plus 5, we could have an added advantage here. But besides this, the US also will have a greater access when it comes to the Indian market, and also to strengthen the whole bilateral trade concept between two countries, especially when US relationship with China is always nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And I want to just play out for our viewers what exactly Trump had said yesterday. That's when, of course, you saw a lot of these tariff letters, as it's being called, being released by Trump. Several countries on whom America slapped tariffs, those announcements were made. There was a reference also at that point to what exactly is the trade deal looking like with India. So listen into that. And we also want to put out what India has had to say. This is from a month ago when there was still, of course, active dialogue between India and America to kind of stitch this trade deal together. Listen into what Piyush Goyal had also said. So both those reactions.
We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal, so we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries, telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit, depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it.
Our focus has been on FTAs with all the advanced countries. We entered into an FTA with UAE, Australia, UK, the 4 EFTA countries. We're in active dialogue with the United States of America for a bilateral trade agreement, which the two leaders, President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, announced in February 2025.
So the messaging from India and America has been very clear. Both are looking at a fair trade deal. You heard that message from Donald Trump, rather positive for India at least, where he says that, look, there are countries with whom we've been unable to stitch a trade deal, so we just turn them away. But as far as India goes, we're close to ensuring that there is a trade deal that's signed, which is good news because it means that essentially the talks, the dialogue that we've been putting up has held good. At the same time, sources tell us that India's been very, very firm on its demands. There's no question of backing off just because of Trump constantly threatening and attempting to bully many countries into some sort of a trade pact. So that's the messaging essentially that India has also resorted to. When will we know about this limited trade deal? Well, it's expected that there will be some clarity in the next few hours. It could also get pushed by 24 hours because, as you heard from our correspondents, there is also a sense that because India doesn't fall within that deadline bracket of August 1st, you could see more talks happening between India and America before there is a formal release on exactly what the trade deal looks like. But you can count on us here on India Today to get you all of the updates as we are constantly keeping track of the latest that comes in on this trade deal. Sources telling us that a limited trade deal has been agreed upon for now. All right, let's move on and talk about the story that's been trending and buzzing on social media. The big comeback on Indian television by Smriti Irani. From acting to politics, it's back to acting. She's set to return as the iconic Tulsi Virani, the face that once redefined Indian soaps and ruled primetime for nearly a decade. Smriti Irani is returning to TV. The first look of her iconic character has been revealed. Details in our report.
She was the bahu every family wanted. And after nearly 2 decades, Tulsi is set to be back. And so is Smriti Irani, the actress.